Hello, beautiful day here in San Diego, California. I'm here with my tech man, Sterling, who just asked me an awesome question, which is, how do you fight aging? Well, first and foremost, you don't want to fight anything. And the reason I say that, you want to have your energy flowing freely. Freely because the body naturally breaks down and builds up. That process is referred to as anabolism. Catabolism is when the body is actually breaking down for the purpose of rejuvenating itself. But if it continually does that, it creates disease. Cancer being one of them. You hear the term cancer all the time, but you don't really hear what it is and how it works. One thing to know is this: anytime a cell is proliferating, separating independently of when it's supposed to, such as when you're exercising, breaking muscles down, white blood cells for the purpose of creating more, something's wrong. Now, since we're not going to fight anything, we're going to go with the laws of nature. First and foremost, there's 3 phases that you're going to go through. Your developmental phase, from birth up to the point of where you are a teenager. And that developmental phase accelerates as a result of hormones kicking in, which are messenger molecules. Now, from the point of entering into a teenager up into the point of complete development, it could be 21, 20, maybe as late as 25, all depending. Point being is that you've reached your full blossoming point, at which time the body will start to go through a plateau phase. Typically for men between the ages of, let's say, 40 to 45, maybe as late as 50, providing that they exercise such as I do, and me being 58 at this particular point. I love questions like this because I'm a living example of what it is that I'm actually talking about, because these principles are the principles that I've actually founded my company on, which is WitFit Gurus, which is an acronym which stands for, with him, it's teaching fitness in totality. Gurus guided under the right universal situation. Universe meaning applying law as it applies to science, anatomy, physiology, physics, mathematics. Because even though you're exercising, you still are applying all these tools and rules into the area of aging. Now, that being said, for years, I've used periodization cycle training, which is a concept that you can look up. Google periodization, cycle training, and it'll come up. Now, how I explain this to people who don't understand what I'm talking about, I always like to liken it to women during their pregnancy period, and they're going through 3 different trimesters, first, second, third. Well, now when we tie this into a person that's reached their peak in age, but yet they want to retard the aging process, well, I always say if you go through 4 cycles a year, and the cycle can last anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks. And the whole point of periodization is that we're going to break our training down into phases for the purpose of reaching peak in that 6 to 8 week period. Then after that, we're going to go through an active rest period of about 2 weeks. Then we'll reevaluate and cycle up again. The nice part about this, within a 52-week period or 1 year period, we don't necessarily have to work out all cycles back to back. We can take a month off, we can take a few weeks off. Or we could just lower the level of intensity or change the type of training that we're actually doing. What that actually does is causes the body not to fall into stagnation. In addition, not to wear the body down to the point of injury. Makes sense? Great. So now, that being said, let's say if you're a person and you're 70 years of age. My oldest client I ever worked with was 82 in Northern California. I believe her name was Marnie. Still remember to this day, over 20 years ago. Now, my point of working with her and her motivation was to have enough energy in order to play with her grandchildren. Now, that being said, my approach always has been a synergistic approach. Synergy meaning order. The most important aspect behind your training program is how you set things up for the purpose of hitting your desired goals in a specific time frame. And in her case, we actually did that. We actually improved her cardiovascular efficiency. improve the muscular endurance as well as her range of motion. Because typically the older you get, the tighter you're gonna get. Why? Because the fibers are slowly starting to break down, get stiff, get more brittle. That's one reason why at 39 I got involved with yoga, which is a very powerful science all in itself. Now, tying this into synergy, the most important muscle in the body that's also an organ is the heart. And what makes it as such is that it has specific type of fibers, such as cardiac, as well as skeletal. We find skeletal fibers throughout the body everywhere, okay? In our muscles, in our thighs, in our neck, even in our eyes, okay? There's so many different muscles in the body, they're actually hard to remember. But the point is this, is that if we exercise those muscles are going to grow and they're going to be alleviated from stagnation. Now, when I meet a person, such as when I met Carney, by the time I finished with her, even though her chronological age was 82, she was probably about 72 because she had more energy and she was so excited to be able to play with her grandchildren. Now, let's say when I work with athletes, the first thing I evaluate with an athlete, and he's at peak, typically, and let's say he's a Reggie Bush style, even though I've never read Reggie or met Reggie Bush when he was playing ball, but he was in top condition. You could see that as far as his physique. You can see that when he performed on the field. Well, even a top athlete actually has strengths and weaknesses. And as a trainer, I want to evaluate both for the purpose of bringing up his weaknesses to equal his strengths. Okay? Now, I'm going to tie that into the 5 major components of fitness, which is cardiovascular strength, cardiovascular endurance, muscular strength, muscular endurance, and flexibility. So regardless of age, I'm always going to be looking at those different factors. Now, those factors, depending upon where they are, I start to see relationships and ratios. Typically, most professional athletes, and they're playing professional football, at a skill position, running back, receiver, not all quarterbacks, some quarterbacks are pretty slow. But running backs and receivers and DBs for sure and linebackers going to be running your 4.5 and under 4.4, 4.3. That is to determine speed, which directly connects into quick twitch fiber or explosiveness, muscular strength. Now the endurance portion breaks down to how well and how quickly can they recover. Well, in a professional football game, you got 40 seconds. You got to be able to go again. So they got 40 seconds to recover. Now, let's say if I'm utilizing these same concepts and working with Mrs. Cleaver. If you guys have never seen Leave It to Beaver, well, Google it and go to YouTube. Well, Mrs. Cleaver was a housewife, and she was taking care of Wally and the beaver. Now, I say that because I've worked with a lot of housewives also, okay? And these housewives, they just want enough energy to be able to bend down, stand up, get the dishes, wash, vacuum. Very few of them are going to be cutting the lawn. They're going to be doing most of the things at home. But I'm still going to look at those 5 different areas. And typically, when I go to flexibility and strength, those are areas that often housewives will actually be weak in. And that's the reason I designed a routine specifically for improving muscular strength, typically in the upper body, as well as range of motion. Because if they're cooking, cleaning, typically they're going to be, sitting down temporarily and getting back up, checking to see if the food is done, things of that nature. So I'm very astute to the type of individuals that I actually work with because I've actually seen a wide range. Now, all that being said is what my business with Fit Gurus is about. I'm only one individual, and I've been training people for like 35 years now. This is myself here at 23, and this is me now at 58. And I feel good for my age, and I got a lot left in the tank. The tank being emotions, the tank being physical energy, and the tank being physical ability. Now I'm getting ready to turn that responsibility over to you, the client, you, the trainer. We've all taken a Lyft on Uber, and they've done an awesome job with those companies of getting people from point A to point B or whatever it is that you're going. And what WitFit Gurus is all about is getting you the trainer that you want or the trainer that you may need. Okay, and the 3 different areas of exercise, fitness, health, wellness, and being is first and foremost is resistance with and without weights. Next, we have flexibility training, which encompasses yoga, Tai Chi, Pilates, as well as cardiovascular interval training, commonly called today HIIT, high intensity training. I guarantee you worldwide, as you see WitFit Gurus goes forward as a business and a service for the purpose of upgrading their health and well-being worldwide. Wishing you wealth through health. Take care.